Oh, that's just awful.
All right, so it looks like we're live, and we're only 8 minutes behind, but that's probably because we were just chatting amongst ourselves and just kind of lost track of time here. But I'm here with Kristo. You want to say hello?
What's up?
And just a random Saturday night stream. I was just kind of sitting here watching. Is it Halloween? The movie with Michael Myers? What's the movie with Michael Myers?
Halloween, yeah.
So Halloween, I was sitting there watching Halloween with my boys, and there's a little bit of nudity and massacreage, and I was like, okay, this is probably too much for my little guy, so I'm gonna take him to bed. And in the meantime, you messaged me, you're like, you want a live stream? I was like, okay, I probably can. And I got a hold of Robes last week, and I said, hey, you should really come on one of our live streams, and he was all for it. But talking to you, you're like, yeah, we should probably plan something out and have an actual topic instead of just randomly get him on here. So I think we'll do that. We'll have him on soon. I'd love to have Robes on and discuss Perfume, but we'll have something planned out, and we'll let our viewers know well in advance.
I agree. I think big milestone for us. I just noticed there's like a big scratch on my wall, like I live in like the projects. But yeah, no, I think it's a big milestone for us. So I think it would be better because this was like, so we messaged about going on live last night with Mark, and I couldn't make it. So you're like, you know what? Let's just wait because want to have all three of us. And today it was kind of like just kind of we kind of mentioned streaming, but I don't think you really confirmed nor denied or declined. And about half an hour ago, you're like, or maybe an hour ago, I do a live stream or something, and then like half an hour later, you're like, yeah, okay. Do you want to bring Mark on? I was like, yeah, I think it's a bit too, for having him on, I'd kind of like end out better.
Yeah, well, I mean, our streams are usually just random. They're not planned days in advance. They're just like, hey, are you free for a stream? Let's kind of do it because we're both kind of busy. I've got 4 kids. I've got a full-time job. You've got kids in the family. You've got school, and it's not easy with family, right? And I don't want to be up here streaming for 2 hours while my kids are just doing nothing downstairs, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. Hang on. And I find like the live streaming now that we've found. I like doing this because I just don't have time to commit. And to be honest, I admit I'm totally getting brain drain on YouTube. Just the commitment it takes you nowadays is so much.
Well, yeah, just go with the flow. Like, I don't let YouTube stress me out or control me. When I have time or when I feel passionate about something, I'll definitely share my thoughts in a video. But if I can't, I won't. It's just that simple. I don't have a set schedule or, I got to put out 1 or 2 videos a week or a month or whatever. It's just basically however I feel.
Yeah, no, that's why I like the live streams because when I feel I haven't really kept up and, I'm not keeping my viewers, subscribers happy, I can just go an hour and just, shoot the breeze with them and, let them know that I am still around. Like to hear from them, and I do like to respond to questions and blah, 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 blah. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm just trying to find the comments here, and I'm struggling again. I can never seem to find our comments.
All right, yeah, we got lots of people checking in already. Rusk Mavajour, of course.
Rusk Mavajour, formerly Asomnik Nazik, formerly Chavez. That's right. I forgot about that. You got a good memory. Formerly, I'm sure he has some other pseudonyms.
Benny, I might just have to sit down and drink a Mountain Dew for this one. I don't know what that's referring to, but it's funny. I don't know.
Mountain Dew. There's something similar to Mountain Dew. It's one of those energy drinks. We were watching TV and the energy drink commercial came on, and my 7-year-old asked if he drinks one of those, will he grow wings? And I was like, yeah, pretty much. Like, that's what it does for you. You grow wings.
Very interesting statement for a impressionable kid.
Yeah, see, kind of like what they're teaching our society here.
All right, and it looks like my video's kind of breaking up. I might have to move down to the basement, down to the living room. If anyone can confirm when I'm watching the stream, and whatnot. See if anyone can confirm, but yeah, it looks really bad. So I'm in literally the furthest place away from the router.
Yeah, you seem to be cutting out in and out for me, but you know, I'll kind of live with it. I don't know what you sound like to the viewers.
So
can you guys confirm?
What's that?
I'm just asking if they can confirm.
I'm pretty sure it is. What I don't want to. Just want to figure out how I can do this with being minimal.
Yeah, they say you're breaking up, Kristo. We got 2 comments confirming you're breaking up.
Yeah, I can see it. I don't want to end it because I don't want everyone to have to come back. So what I might do, let's kind of talk while I try to pack this stuff up. Like, I don't even have a thing to carry in, so
yeah, take your time. So
okay, well, you do your scent of the day and
well, I don't want to show my scent of the day because it's part of my, you know, it goes in hand with the topic, and that is one of my favorite things. So Kristo and I have both kind of picked up new for us, not necessarily vintage, but older fragrances. So they might not be like original releases of the vintages we talk about, but they're definitely older things. And I was actually in a discount shop that I frequent quite often, the one that you and I go to when you come down to Mississauga, and I had a viewer recognize me, which was pretty freaky, eh? It doesn't happen too often.
That I recall.
I think it's only the 2nd or 3rd time. And I just kind of come in there, and I don't really like to make eye contact with anyone. And, you know, the guy was tall just like me, and he's like, hey, you're that guy from YouTube with all the Guerlain. And I just kind of chuckled to myself. I said, yeah, that's me. And he ended up buying Reflection Man. And I got a spray. You know, I asked him, he opened it up there on the spot, and I asked him if I can have a spray. And he sprayed some Reflection on my wrist.
Yeah, I remember you mentioning that, and I kind of had a laugh that someone recognized you and knew you for Guerlain, but they ended up buying Reflection. I was like, you didn't teach them well enough.
Well, I mean, everybody has their own preference, right?
I'm joking. It's just, you know, for someone to recognize you and to know Guerlain and then grab Reflection, but whatever. It's
maybe cool. They just watch. They could just be watching for entertainment, you know, value.
Sure, I guess as long as they're not doing it for comedic value.
Josh asks, "What did I think of Reflection?" You know, Reflection's not really my thing. It's just very clean and. I'm not sure. It just doesn't do a whole lot for me. Reflection. It's probably, you know, I think I've worn Reflection once, and I was like, okay, you know, it's just not my style of fragrance.
Sure.
Are you set up?
I just want to see if it's looking better on here.
You set up.
What's that?
You're not, well, you don't seem like you're cutting up.
See, when I watch on here, though, it's really choppy and broken up. But like, I hear you find it something.
All right, well, let's just go with it, and we'll wait for some feedback.
I think it might be more because you're hosting me, perhaps. Because like, I did a live stream from the attic last weekend, and no issues.
Okay, yeah, right.
Yeah.
You want to give us your scent of the day?
Okay, so I've got 2 scent of the days. I left the one upstairs because I'm not going to go back up and get it. But I went out twice today. Once in the afternoon, just to take the family out. We went to the mall.
Kenny Williams is in the house. Sorry to disrupt you, man. Kenny,
yep.
Where's what are the other 2 guys' name? Oh, he's wearing Pinot, you know, obviously.
That's
Kenny and
right.
Serapio. I want to see those guys on here. Please make an appearance. Make it happen, Kenny Williams. All right, sorry, man. Go on, Kristo. I apologize.
Pinot Silvestre. So yeah, we went out for lunch and went and got groceries, went to the mall and stuff we didn't need like usual. And so yeah, I wore 20 can't get enough for this. I'm just madly in love with it. Like I just can't even this is I don't know. I think this is, we kind of talked about it I think last week, but I think this is possibly if not, it's definitely top 2, top 3.
Is that 22?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I agree. I absolutely love that stuff. And it kind of goes in the theme with our video today, vintage designer fragrances.
Yeah.
So I've kind of picked up a few, and I can say, I believe one is the 70s release, one is an 80s, and one is early I'm going to show 3 bottles, and one is early 2000. And after getting these and picking them up and getting to know them, I can honestly say these 3 can be the start of, you know, changing my entire fragrance journey for me.
Yeah.
I'm just like absolutely crazy for them. And I almost want to say, you know, if modern designer fragrances didn't go to shit, we would have no need for niche. There would be no room for niche. If fragrances stayed, you know, the way they were made in the 80s and 90s, there would be no market for niche, because these were niche before niche. There would never have been an opportunity for niche to open up.
It's interesting you say that, because obviously in the early 2010s, late 2000s, that's when the niche insurgence happened, right? And that's arguably
niche is fairly new concept to us, right?
Yeah, it wasn't really done en masse until like the last decade.
That's right. When designer fragrances went to crap, like let's say early 2000s, designers started to become fresh and clean and ozonic and aquatic and really boring and mass marketed, and not much to the connoisseur. There wasn't a whole lot available to the connoisseur in the designer range, right?
Yeah, because there's a few houses, big houses like L'Artisan and Serge Lutens that
Yeah.
predate that by a law. Well respected, they've been around. They're not going anywhere. But yeah, that's totally true. In kind of probably like 2007 or whatever, like if you had the time to go through the Fragrantica database when niche brands started to enter the market, I bet you sometime around 2007 it kind of went like this, and then it was like through the roof, and then it's probably going down a little bit now, but yeah, no, I think that's very accurate.
Yeah, somebody here, Kenny Williams, is mentioning, niche is it's not new because Creed's been around for many, many years, which is
For 250 years.
of course somebody had to bring that up, right? But we have no proof
Yeah.
of how long Creed has really been here. Creed is like a storybook. It's like a book for children, really. We have no proof. We know Guerlain's been around since the 1800s because there's proof,
Yeah. It's
But
a choose your own adventure book.
yeah, I'm gonna start here. Let's get this going.
Okay, I left my beer upstairs, so I'm gonna go grab a drink. So just you start out.
All right, you grab a drink. I'll read some of the comments quickly, and I'll wait for you. Vintage Avon. You know what? I haven't tried a whole lot of Avon. Fahrenheit Absolute is amazing. For the limited time I spent with it, I'm gonna say I really like it, and I have tried the Parfum once at an airport duty free, and I regret not picking up Fahrenheit Parfum. But you know what? The next time I see it, I'll definitely be grabbing it. Anthony Scrivench, Scent of the Day, Chanel Jersey, great lavender perfume. Scent of the Day, Noir de Noir. Scent of the Day, Boucheron Pour Homme. I can't remember ever trying that one. I think I tried Jaipur from Boucheron, which was a very spicy, kind of reminded me of Indian cuisine.
Jaipur is amazing. Speaking of classic vintages, I've not tried the EDT, but for some reason the EDP was like really easy to find in Indonesia for really cheap. Excuse me, and yeah, it's excellent. It's absolutely excellent.
Yeah. Fosco's in L'Artisan Bois Farine, which is amazing. It's got that peanut butter and burnt cooking oil. Kind of powdery iris, almost like baked goods. Something I'd smell, my mom's house would smell like at around Christmas time after baking and frying and all that stuff. Pretty wild, actually.
I really wanted a bottle, but they unfortunately sold out on what's it called? The Canadian one that gouge you for shipping.
What's that? The online retailer?
Yeah.
Oh no. Okay, Kristo, do you believe in time travel?
Anything's possible, let's say. What's up?
So last year, Terry Wasser gave us Shalimar Souffle Intense.
Yeah.
In 2017. Interesting. It's a great bourbon, vanilla, sambac, jasmine, incensey, benzoin, Shalimar flanker in 2017.
Okay.
In 2002, he created the exact same flanker, but it was for Dior. And it was Dior Addict.
Okay, you just picked that up, didn't you?
That's right. So the first thing you'll notice the similarities is that cobalt blue flacon color.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Secondly, these perfumes, they don't smell 100% identical, but you're not going to find two closer smelling perfumes on the market today.
Okay.
Both created by Thierry Wasser. It's amazing how remarkable like the similarities are. And so I picked this up. This is actually the reformulated 2012 release, reformulated by Demachet, but you know, still it's Wasser's concept. It's his idea. So I still give him credit for this.
Yeah, right, for sure.
You know, the same way I can't give credit to Wasser for Le Petit Robe Noir because it wasn't his invention. It wasn't his baby from the beginning.
Yeah.
I can't take away Your Attic from him because it was reformulated.
Yeah, sure, fair enough. But no, I think that's a good point. You know, whoever creates it, it belongs to them. Whoever dealt it, smelt it, or whoever smelt it, dealt it. You know what I mean?
So it's a big, bold, powdery floral. A lot of sharp jasmine. It's like that night blooming, very sharp, very granny-ish in church jasmine, you know. Something that I would have found repulsive, you know, 15 years ago, but now I love this kind of stuff. Very bold, very rich. There's got to be some like a light incense note in here. A dry vanilla in the same sense as Shalimar. I mean, this is a Shalimar flanker. And I'm not sure if Wasser knew he was going to go to Guerlain and do flankers when he created this. It's just so ironic how similar they smell.
Yeah, I'm sure
it's shocking.
No coincidence. Well, yeah, look at, you know, Comme des Garçons 2 Man and Vetiver 46 by Le Labo, same perfumer, and they smell like, you know, 90% similar.
Yeah. So that's my first find in this video here is Your Addict.
So unfortunately, the vast majority of my vintage bottles are in Indonesia. I foolishly assumed they would be easy to find or that I wouldn't, or easy to replace, or that I wouldn't really miss them, but I definitely do now. So I've grabbed the few vintage bottles that I own. Now, a couple I'm going to save for a little bit later, but I think... okay, now let me start by asking you this. What classifies something as vintage?
Okay, that's very interesting. It could be, you know, complicated, but I guess by vintage, we're referring to original release, like the first production release of a fragrance. But I think vintage needs to have a certain number of years behind it. I don't know if it's 20 or 25 or I'm not sure. Vintage could be whatever we want it to be, right?
Well, yeah, that's the thing. And I do see the term vintage being used as a marketing gimmick for people trying to sell their bottles. And it'll be like, you know, geez, what's something? You know, vintage Spice Bomb. And it's from like 2000 and,
yeah,
you know, 2014 or something. Or,
and we had this discussion ourselves, like the way we're seeking out vintage Fahrenheit and Your Attic, 20 years from now, will people be seeking out vintage Spice Bomb and vintage, you know, Gucci Guilty?
They already are, but I think things like Spice Bomb are maybe held in a little bit higher esteem. But yeah, I think, you know, Invictus, you know, Paco Rabanne Invictus people will be trying to find that in 20 years.
Yeah, it's only been a few years and they're already paying outrageous prices for Invictus Aqua, you know, the original. I think it's a 2016 release, right?
I think a little early. Oh, the Aqua, yeah, maybe 16. I was thinking the original's a little bit earlier, but yeah. Here,
I see here, just really quickly, Lisa Fox comments, and she looks like she owns both Your Addict and the Souffle Intense, and she agrees they're similar. The jasmine is is alike in both of them. And I also agree with her comment. Personally, I think Addict is superior to Souffle Intense. I agree. I much prefer to wear Addict. I find Addict a little bit more dated, which I don't mind. And I think just structurally, it's more satisfying to me than newer Souffle. And that could be because of, restrictions put on Wasser and what's going into these fragrances. So might just be, a part of it.
All right. Sorry, I don't know why. Every time I get on here, I get a runny nose for some reason. I've mentioned this before as well.
Could be the heat.
Yeah, no, I've got the heat. I like it cold in my house, man. But yeah, whatever. Anyway, so I think for me, the definition of a vintage is kind of like after there's been a very apparent change to either the bottle or the formula, when you can actually pinpoint where the fragrance changed clearly.
So how about in terms of age? Like, does the perfume need to be a certain amount of years old before we can call it vintage?
If there's something
you're not going to call like Aqua Invictus vintage. It's a 2016 release. It sounds ridiculous to me.
Seriously, no. But if I'm trying to sell the bottle like I see people do, I'm gonna call it vintage because then everyone was like.
So now it turns into a word game, and everybody starts calling everything vintage in hopes of bigger profits.
Yeah. But for me, it's not necessarily about age. It's more so about changing when it's clearly been modified, because people want same packaging. People like the older packaging. Let's be honest, older packaging is usually better.
Wouldn't the proper term for that be original release?
Not necessarily. So something like Fahrenheit, there's actually a post in Mark's group just a couple hours ago, someone asking about the date on one of their vintage Fahrenheits. And, a few people kind of brought it down to about 2003 or 2002. But it still has that ribbed cap with the Christian Dior on the bottle. So it's definitely like completely different from what's in the drugstores now and what's been out there for years and years, or department stores now. Mm-hmm. But I would still consider it vintage. And the box is totally different. The box with like the blue bottom, because the new ones don't have the blue on them, do they? I think the black.
They're red with a black border.
Yeah, so
like a black shaded border.
Yeah. So I would still consider that a vintage, even though it's 2002 or whatever, because the newer bottles have a very noticeably different package and very noticeably different smell. Well, okay, I can't say about the 2002 bottle, but I'm pretty sure from like the earlier bottles that I just picked up recently, it smells, as I recall, very different from from what's in stores now.
Okay, so what's your take on vintage? Like when you discover an older fragrance, let's say Fahrenheit, and you fall in love with modern Fahrenheit, are you one to go out and seek the vintage version, or are you satisfied with current editions of whatever perfume it is you're chasing?
No, definitely not. I want to try the vintage, but I'm also the kind of person, I like the thrill of the hunt. I'm not just gonna, go and drop $200 on a bottle because I really want it. I want to find it in the wild, whether it's, kind of still someone trying to sell it for retail price from, a decade ago. But I'm not going to just go and buy it from someone trying to sell it for top dollar.
Yeah. Either, but I am kind of mental in that when I get asphyxiated on something, it is all I can concentrate until I get it, until I track it down, like a beagle on a scent trail. It's the only thing I can think of. And I don't know. I just kind of been lucky, I feel, with these three. It didn't take me, once I kind of discovered the perfumes, I went and I seeked out vintages, and I didn't pay any more than I would have for current modern retail prices.
Yeah, and I agree with that. Yeah.
For.
That's my kind of rule of thumb. I'm never going to pay more than retail. I don't care what it is. I don't care how rare it is. I'm never going to pay more than retail. So like, you know, Dolce and Gabbana buy, you know, people paying 150, 200 US dollars for it. If I found it for $100, I'd buy it, but I wouldn't pay, you know, 150, 200 US. And I have a bottle, I paid a lot less than that, but, you know, kind of as an example, I'm not going to pay double the retail price just because it's vintage.
Yeah. Okay, you want to share a bottle with us?
Yeah, sure. So I'll start this one. I don't remember if this is my channel I showed this on last week or yours, because I did a video for me and for you last Saturday, I think it was Friday or Saturday. Did I mention this on your channel, my poison?
I don't think you did.
Okay, so then it must have been my channel.
Because we discussed the niche versus designer exclusives versus niche last week.
Okay, I don't remember, because I definitely showed this, but I couldn't remember if it was on my stream or our stream later on. So my wife and I went to a concert last weekend, or last Thursday, I guess it was, and my mom came over to babysit, and she's like, "Oh, here, I brought something for you," and she handed me like this. It was like an airline bag, you know, when you get like the complimentary, like, you know, face mask or sleep mask, and, you know, slippers, and, you know, all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And she handed it to me. I was like, "What is this?" Because I recognized it. And then she's like, "Oh, it's old perfume." I was like, "Oh, okay." And I like unzipped it, and there's like, what is it? Diamonds. Who does diamonds?
Is it like Elizabeth Taylor or something?
Yeah. So there's a bottle of that, and then like Red Door by Elizabeth Arden.
Okay.
And then I pulled this out, and I was like, "Whoa, I never knew you wore poison." And she's like, "Yeah, I wore poison for like 30 years." But so she's developed really, really bad allergies, and she can't actually even, you know, when she's coming over to visit, I intentionally either cannot wear perfume, or I have to put it on like hours before she comes over. Because if we're in the car with her, especially when it's cold and we have to have on the heat, or the windows closed, like, she can get like asthma attacks, and she never was like that before. So she's like, "Yeah, that's all I wore for like 20 or 30 years," which is funny because I do not remember at all her ever wearing this. But anyway, so she gave me her bottle. It's probably only about 20 mil left, but this stuff is
It'll last you a lifetime.
It's so strong. Like so strong.
It was actually my scent of the day.
Yeah, so that's kind of, yeah, there you go.
So
tilt
this
your
is
bottle a bit. It's kind of glaring. I just want to see differences. Tilt
I'm
it
not
back.
sure. Can you see that?
It's really, it's glaring. It's like,
I don't know how to hold it up.
it's a little bit, yeah. Okay, oh, go up a bit more. Tilt it back. Okay, pretty similar.
I believe this is 3 years outside of vintage. This is an 88.
Okay, so yeah, I don't know. Mine's definitely a bit different, but
They kind of look the same to me.
what's the back of yours?
Mine's a tester bottle.
Do you have the full address on the back?
It says 33 Avenue Hoche.
Yeah.
75008 Paris.
So yours definitely has a darker, lighter cap than mine, because mine's almost.
Mine
like,
is a clear, you know, it's
mine's like gold.
My sticker fell off. I used to have a sticker down here with a batch code, I believe.
Really, there's nothing on the bottom of mine.
Because I remember looking it up and it was an 88. But, you know, the story of this is I had walked into my local favorite discount shop and I asked the guy, "Do you have vintage poison?"
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, he starts scratching his head. He's like, you know what? I think I have a tester bottle that had just come in. So he starts scrimmaging through some boxes, and he pulls this out. This was wrapped up in cellophane, brand new, never been sprayed, like full to the brim.
Mm-hmm.
No box, obviously. And he sold it to me for less than what a modern goes for retail,
Yeah.
which, you know, it's absolutely amazing. And I wore this today. I went to my mom's house because I got a soft spot for this. When I was 14, I got a job at the local grocery store. I was living with my parents, and I was bagging groceries for $4 an hour, $4.25 an hour. And with I saved enough money for Christmas time, and I bought my mom vintage Poison, and it was her signature throughout the 80s. She said she wore so much Poison that it literally discolored her skin on her neck. It was that potent, yeah. And she said, you know, for the longest time until she stopped wearing it, she had these blotches on her neck.
Ouch, that's not good.
Yeah, so it kind of makes you wonder what goes into these things, because when you wear them, they're just so rich, and you know, they put a lot of niche these days to shame, I would say.
So, okay, so it's kind of funny you mentioned that. So maybe it's a good segue as well. So I've shown this a few times on my channel, and I'm really proud of it. I'm going to keep showing everyone my vintage bottle. This is pretty early. It's like 92 or earlier. I don't know how many batches were made between like 87 or 88 and 92, but this is really early. And Adam Kovacs, um, you know, we talk privately sometimes as well as on my channel and whatnot. And he was saying that apparently this is full of like really nasty chemicals that like even at the time were considered like really risky to use. And it's like crazy how they were actually allowed to use them and how they got away with using them for so long. So perhaps they were doing something like that with the Poison as well. But I think like he said, and I think like you said as well, like, you know, 10 million men around the world wore this, you know, from the late 80s to like, you know, till it was reformed dramatically, you know, in the 2000s. So it's obviously not gonna kill you from wearing it twice, but there's definitely some chemicals or some additives in this that are gonna do some nasty stuff to your skin, as I understand from him.
Current Poison is a beast. It's, you know, and it's still an excellent reformulation. As far as I'm concerned, it smells good. I wore this in the car with my son one day last week, and he's like, "What are you wearing? It smells horrible." And I was like, I can understand where he's coming from. And I said, it's a perfume called Poison. He's like, that makes sense, because that's what it smells like, is poison. That's literally what he had said.
Yeah.
So I put this on around, you know, 1 p.m. I went to my mom's for lunch, and it's now 10 o'clock, and it's still literally blaring off of me like a fire truck. That's what it sounds like, you know. It's just so loud. And every time I get a little bit of warmth, it just kind of glows. I've got this radiation coming off of me. And it's, you know, it's extremely complex. I haven't looked at the note breakdown, but I'd imagine there's like
enormous.
a zillion notes.
Yeah.
You know, I can pick up incense and rose and jasmine and patchouli. It's creamy. It's smoky. There's got to be sandalwood in here. It's just, I don't even have the words to describe how this makes me feel. It's like a perfume lover's dream. But at the same time, it's so loud. It's kind of unwearable. Like, this is not for every day. And you can't wear this to work, or you can't wear this to a professional setting. It's it's kind of outrageous.
So there's some interesting talk about poison going on here. H2 No, who I recognize, saying when it came out, poison was banned from Paris restaurants due to its potency.
That's actually hilarious. You know, that a perfume is that well known that you're not allowed to wear it out in public places. It's insane. What that does is it's free marketing, you know. More people are interested.
Because then people want to go and try it. Well, that's
more
what happened.
People are talking about this.
That's what happened with Secretions Magnifique. Like, boutiques were banning it from being sprayed inside because people were so repulsed by it. And then people wanted to go out and find out what it was, this perfume that's being banned from being sprayed in the store. So yeah, it's just like a genius form of marketing, or, you know, a way of playing off of that.
It's so loud, it's almost obnoxious, and it totally goes against everything that I enjoy today. But it's just, you know, it's like the seventh wonder of the perfume world.
Andre saying maybe IFRA is not that bad after all, which is interesting because...
Well, they're definitely here to protect us. They're not here to screw us, right? But they might be protecting us a little too much.
Yeah, I talked with Victor, I'll say, off the what is it, off the books or whatever, you know, off the record.
Right, we won't tell anybody. We only got 51 viewers, so, you know.
But
keep it amongst ourselves. Victor's probably watching. He just doesn't want to say anything.
He could be, you never know. But yeah, he mentioned...
Watching, Victor, let us know that you're here.
He mentioned that you know, there is a lot of controversy around the IFRA, and, you know, what they're doing by a lot of people is seen, and I don't just mean like random punters on like Fragrantica, but like people that he's talking to at these fragrance exhibitions, you know, talking about them being essentially a criminal organization that ban products so companies close to them can sell their aroma chemicals en masse, and they're making hundreds of millions of dollars. So when IFRA go, we're going to ban this note, or we're going to ban this essential oil, or we're going to ban this or this or this, their friends are making insane amounts of money, because that's literally the only aroma chemical on the planet that you're legally allowed to use if you want to have your fragrance represented, you know, by the IFRA. And it's really fascinating.
It totally makes sense, and, you know, nothing today would really surprise me. Money makes the world go round. We know that. And there's, you know, there's mafia organizations in just about every part of, you know, everywhere, you know, wherever they can get their grubby little hands on, they're there.
So I've got no problem with that. I think it's more the fact that it's an absolute monopoly. Like, if you're Canadian and you want your fragrance to be sold in Europe, you have to go through them. There's no other body you can go through. So that's kind of what I, you know, I don't like about it. It's essentially this worldwide multi-billion-dollar monopoly that says you must use what we say or you cannot sell your product, which is just, to me, kind of scary, in the sense that they restrict this unless you play by their rules, and their rules mean making their friends insanely rich and powerful. But whatever, I don't know. Gonna get into like Illuminati shit and stuff.
Yeah,
whatever.
I mean, if they're doing that with perfume, can you imagine what else is going on in this world? Like government organizations and...
no, I don't even want...
Anyway, you have something else you want to show?
Why don't you show one? I did my Poison and my Fahrenheit, so why don't you
Okay, so I've got one more.
Yeah.
And this is kind of another one where, you know, just the talk about it and the marketing actually worked in the favor for this perfume.
Yeah.
It was banned in several countries. This is a 1977 release. This isn't a vintage bottle. I think this is a mid 19 bottle, and this is the eau de toilette of Opium. I think this was originally released as an eau de toilette.
Yes.
And this is one of the most brass perfumes I've ever smelled. And you know, the fact that this was released to women is astonishing, because today this would definitely be marketed towards men. I can't believe, you know, back in the day that women actually wanted to smell like this. This is all base notes to me. You can smell in the top like some nuance of top notes, but it's just literally the base notes clubbing the top notes, trying to push them back inside the bottle and don't let them breathe at all. It's just really heavy, heavy notes. Those top notes to me are just basically, they're almost like a soft, warm, cosmetic powder accord. And then everything else is, it's just really scratchy and abrasive. I get a lot of patchouli from this, a lot of smoke and incense and resins. And so it's almost like this beast in the beauty. It opens up really powerful and strong, and it dries down to this really gorgeous perfume. Very soft and creamy and woody. Now,
hang on. I just realized I left my bottle, or one of my bottles upstairs that I wanted to show. So you keep going. I'm going to run up and grab that, and I'll be back down in a minute.
Yeah, man. Okay.
Go for it.
We'll go and read some comments.
Yeah, do that.
So it's just basically everybody jumping on the IFRA. I'm not sure if you guys have smelt this, but this is, it reminds me of a couple of masculine perfumes. I think Heritage is, it kind of comes close to this. Heritage is a very powdery patchouli perfume. It can get scratchy and abrasive, and it's got some resemblance to Opium. And there was another one. I was talking to somebody, but I forgot what it was. I said it reminds me of, but I do get a lot of that earthy, scratchy, abrasive patchouli, almost like it's very texturized. But the opening is very spicy and sharp, and it's got notes of clove and geranium. I'm sure there's rose and jasmine in here. If you look at the note breakdown, it's probably insane. I don't have the pyramid here, but it's just, it's, again, niche before niche was here. This is what this reminds me of, is niche perfume. And so Opium was kind of, it was kind of taboo. I think the American Chinese kind of, they weren't too happy about this, and that kind of made a big problem. And the more negative attention that was created, the more popular this became. I need to try Opium pour Homme. I tried Opium pour Homme, and it didn't impress me as much as the Opium for women. And I don't think guys should be afraid of wearing this. This has definitely got a lot of masculine features to it. Heritage for Men is a masterpiece. I won't disagree with that. I love Opium pour Homme, but I can't wear it. It's a bit too heavy for me. If you can't wear Opium pour Homme, you definitely won't be able to wear this, because this would take a sledgehammer to Opium pour Homme. People are making a big deal of the current Femme Opium YSL ads. I can't say I've seen any of them. What are the ads like? I know I've tried some of the Opium flankers, and they did nothing for me at all. There's the Opium Black, and the Nuit Blanche. And I haven't tried the Belle. There's that blue one called Belle. I haven't tried that one, but black's pretty bad. It's all just like a sugar down. I can't even call it a version of opium, but.
So I kind of missed a lot of what you were saying there, but I do know there is an opium. Like I think it was the first flanker that was ever made of it, and it came out like long time after the original release, and it's really good as I recall. I don't remember the name, but I remember when it came out, it was kind of a big deal because it was like the first flanker. You know, when YSL started doing that, they had like this single iconic fragrance. And then like 10 years after it was released, they just went like flanker, 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 and just totally killed it and its reputation and its image and whatnot. I don't remember what it was called, but it was really nice.
So they started, this was released in 77. They started doing flankers all the way back then.
Did they? What was the
Well, you're just saying they had flanker, flanker, flanker.
What was the first flanker then? I didn't know. I thought they didn't do flankers until like decades later.
Oh, like you just mentioned now. So I'm asking.
Oh,
did they start doing the flankers in the late 70s? I can't remember.
No. I don't think it was until.
Thinking about it, it's like Poison must have been the first to start doing all these flankers because they've got like Midnight Poison and Tundra Poison and Pure Poison and Hypnotic Poison and Girl Poison, and you know, and that came out in 85. I can't recall any other designer before Poison doing all these flankers.
That's a good question. I hadn't thought of that, but yeah, I can't think of anything really that predates it. You know, and I'm not talking like just like EDP, EDT, Parfume, whatever.
No. Yeah, right. But an actual true flanker, not a concentration change.
That's a good question. Let's put a challenge out for everyone watching. We'll challenge them to find what the first real mainstream designer flanker was.
I know Opium's got a boatload of flankers, and Opium came out in 77, but I don't think the flankers came out till this was, I think it was discontinued and then relaunched in 2009, and now it comes out in that really square looking, it's a beautiful bottle, beautiful packaging. The scent's changed a little bit. I think it's still a really nice perfume. It's definitely missing some of the, you know, the light nuances that this one has, but this is still probably missing nuances that the 77 release has. So,
yeah,
you know, if you go direct to the year of the release, you're never going to have a pure, you know, the pure what the perfume was trying to project.
Yeah, I think you're right. In the sense that it was.
So after it was relaunched in 2009, then they started having the black opiums, black opium EDT, black EDP, the Nuit Blanche, the Belle opium. I think there was 2 Belles that came in the blue flasks.
So there were some seemingly very limited versions before 2009, but it looks like
yeah, they were like some summer versions, I think, like Latte or
yeah, there's a
that didn't last very long. Or
yeah, they seem to be just like one-off seasonal things. I'm just trying to find which one it was because I know there was one and I remember really liking it, but maybe it was Belle. I can't remember. That seems to be the earliest like major flanker with the yeah, I think it might be just looking at the notes. Belle de Opium.
Yeah.
So there definitely were flankers before.
And that's discontinued already.
Yeah.
And you know, they don't discontinue a fragrance unless the sales are doing really poorly. And what's the reason a fragrance doesn't sell is most likely it just sucks. I've never smelled the Belle Opium, but I'm kind of curious because I know where I can get a bottle, and I'm not sure if it's worth picking up.
I really liked it. I remember when it came out, I remember really enjoying it. Because
so it's not very sweet?
No, it's smoke. The top of chord is the incense.
Oh, there's a lot of incense and frankincense in this. A lot of resiny features. It's absolutely gorgeous. Like, I would definitely recommend this to anybody, male or female. Actually, I think this is more masculine than it is feminine. I was just saying to them when you stepped aside, I can't believe that women used to wear. I can't imagine women today like.
Well, now, do you mean women or do you mean girls?
I mean, within a certain age range, wanting to smell like this. This is definitely not, the Kendall Jenner and
yeah, but that's not women though. That's
not Gigi Hadid.
No, that's girls. That's like
This is more like, what's that show? My mom used to watch Dynasty.
Oh, I don't know, man.
They had those really sophisticated, glamorous women. That's who I picture wearing opium. Dynasty and Knots Landing. I remember being a little kid and watching that with my mom. She still loved those soap operas.
Yeah, no, there's no way that, girls that are teenagers, 20s that are going to wear that. It's going to be, kind of.
And I guess those are the people who the black opiums are for, ultimately.
Yeah.
Those very sweet, the black opium, the poison girl, Mon Guerlain, just stuff like that.
Yeah.
Oh, vintage Kuros. I forgot to bring up my bottle. I wasn't even thinking about it. I've had it for so long that to me it's not even vintage. It's the only Kuros that I know. But Kuros is another beast altogether. Are you familiar with Kuros, Kristo?
Oh yeah, I love it. I wish I had a vintage, but they're hard to find now.
I keep hearing that Kuros used to be popular in gay male nightclubs in the 80s.
Really?
It was kind of like the scent of flavor.
I can see that, I guess. I hadn't heard that, but I think it makes sense.
And it's supposed to have some kind of like public urinal vibe to it.
like the urinal cake thing.
Yeah. Keep hearing that. To me, it smells a lot like bleach.
Yeah.
It's got this something clean about it.
Well, it's clean, but it's animalic at the same time, which is really
it's quite the contrasting perfume. It's been a while since I've worn it. I wish I had brought it up, and I don't want to run down now to get it.
So, while we're on the topic of YSL, I picked this up. This is probably the cheapest bottle of perfume I've ever bought in my life. Right before I was moving to Hamilton, I went out of town, like looking for furniture and stuff for my house, and we went into like this little I don't know, like charity store or something, and I ended up finding a bottle of this, the original YSL.
Wow.
And it's even called For Men, and I believe it's now just like YSL Homme.
It's YSL Pour Homme, yeah, that's what it's called.
And I paid a whopping 75 cents Canadian for this.
What?
So it was probably about that full, but I've decanted some. Like I've got an atomizer full, and I think I've sent some to other people. But this stuff is so strong. And I've tried the concentrate version in Indonesian. I really liked it because it's got that like really I don't know, like almost like industrial cleaner. Like if you think about someone like sterilizing.
Sterile. That's what I think of when I smell Kuros. Very sterile.
Yeah. So
but that contrasting dirtiness.
So this doesn't really have the dirtiness. It smells more like someone like sterilizing a hospital with like lemon scented cleaner.
Okay.
So it's and I think I've even heard someone describe it as like smelling like toilet, like lemon scented toilet cleaner. And I agree, as weird as that sounds, but I love that smell. I love things that are like artificially clean smelling. Like the smell of like, so So like we've in our house we've got like the laundry room, and it's really close um to the kids' bedroom. And when I'm in the kids' bedroom and the laundry's going and I've got bleach in there, I can smell it in that bedroom like so clearly. And I love the smell. Like I love the smell of just like clean, just like kind of generic soap and like bleach mixed together. Oh, it's amazing. I
Yeah,
mean,
as long as it's not burning your nose hairs, but subtly, I don't mind it either.
oh, I love the smell of bleach, and even like like the what do you call it? Like the urinal cakes, or like the little like the sanitary not mothballs, but like I know in Indonesia you could buy like this little package of like these like colored scented balls that you would put in the corner of your bathroom, or you'd put them in your wardrobe or whatever, to kind of like make this air smell clean.
Right,
And
right.
I love the smell of it. Like they're essentially mothballs, but they smell a little bit nicer, not as harsh.
Yeah, mothballs do have a weird scent to them. But I've always wanted that YSL Pour Homme, and I see it quite often, and I've just never gotten around to picking it up. But there's the YSL Pour Homme and the Opium. I'm always kind of debating like which one I should get first.
So I've
And then
got
they got the Opium, the Parfum, which is just like impossible to find, right?
very hard to find. I have a bottle of the newer uh opium for men, and I don't like it. I really don't like it.
Really?
Yeah, I don't enjoy it. I've tried it, and it's so sweet. There's no It smells like a messy designer that was made. And
Yeah. To be honest, like the few times that I've tried it, it reminded me of L'Nuit de l'Homme. Like I seen a lot of similarities, which kind of turned me off. But it still had that vintage vibe to it, which I don't mind. But I think I remember the sweetness you're talking about now.
Brace Raid, he's at the grocery store. I think it's a he. At the grocery store, gotta go for a minute. He'll be back in a bit. Um, gasoline. Gasoline in a bottle, Kristo? Question mark. I love the smell of gasoline. Like I absolutely adore the smell of gas. I'm not like a junkie like huffing gas or whatever, but I do. I love the smell. I absolutely love the smell of gasoline. And that's, I actually get not gasoline, but I get a real like a real petrochemical feeling out of this, just like this dark black petrochemical um, kind of note accord in the heart, maybe mid to heart. It reminds me a little bit of the Prada Infusions Dome and Dearest. That kind of dark petrochemical feel, and I love it. I love that kind of smell.
I can't say I've ever noticed it.
I've worn this like, man, I've probably worn this like nearly 6 or 7 times since I got the bottle, and I get it every single time in the dry down. Just like this black. And again, it's not like oil, but it's more like, a really classy soap. Like a Europe, like if you were staying in like a really expensive kind of local hotel in Europe, that's what I would imagine the soap would smell like.
Okay.
Very interesting. I love it. I love it.
It's definitely soapy. I can get the soapy aspects, but I don't get the petrochemical vibe.
I get it so much now. I never noticed it. I honestly never noticed it until I picked up the bottle, and I get it like so clearly. Um, so it's something as well. Okay, so that's kind of a good segue here for so for example, a brand that we both love, Frederick Malle. Okay, so the petrochemical thing, I always think of Une Rose. So you get that in Une Rose, I'm pretty sure you've mentioned.
It's been a long time since I've worn Une Rose.
But yeah, I
I
get
think I get black notes from it.
yeah, so I
Black
think that's what
rose.
it is. I do get a very petrochemical kind of accord out of Une Rose, and it's kind of similar to what I get out of this. But So that's one thing that I think, talking about vintages, you know, there's a few there's a few Frederick Malls that I would say are as good as they were before, but there's some that have been totally butchered, neutered, destroyed, and I think Un Rose is one of them.
Really?
Yeah, I do.
Oh wow, that's so disappointing to hear. That was my wedding day scent.
But you've got a bottle still, don't you?
I do, I do.
Yeah, and yours is still like vintage, so it's like pre-Estee Lauder or whatever. But I'm sure yours is still, vintage. But yeah, so for example, Carnal Flower, I've got a
Mine's
new
got to be
bottle.
years old.
What's that?
Mine's got to be at least 5 or 6 years old. So
Yeah, no, you're fine. I think you're fine on that one. I think it's more like the Estee Lauder takeover.
okay.
So like Carnal
I
Flower.
can't say I have many complaints about any of my malls being reformulated. Even in Fleur de Cassis, they kind of castrated, the sexual innuendo, but it's still, a complex perfume that satisfies me. So I won't complain a whole lot because being around perfume for as long as we have, we know what reformulations can do to some of our favorites.
But yeah, so I've mentioned this before. Like I have a bottle of Dante Bra, which is one of the lesser known or lesser appreciated malls, and I'm pretty sure it's either the first release or a very soon repackaging or reissue or whatever, batch, whatever. And my sample, they're day and night. They don't even resemble each other. If you sprayed them on a tester and asked me to
Right.
try them, I wouldn't even think they're the same fragrance. Um, but things like Musk Ravageur, Kernel Flower, I think they're almost identical. But some I notice are dramatically different. But for the most part, I think they've kept up. They've kept with their kind of initial release. They smell pretty similar.
Yeah, I haven't smelt Portrait of a Lady. I keep hearing that's gotten reformulated,
I've
but
heard that too. Yeah, I've heard from people that I think have respectable noses as well.
okay. So talking about vintages recently, and I kind of regret not picking it up. I smelt Edmund Rudnitska's Rochas Femme
Oh, I
on
think you
initial blast.
yeah.
Never did a perfume make more sense to me than that one. It
Wow.
was just like, wow, absolute beauty in the bottle,
Where did
pure
you smell that?
gorgeousness. Sorry,
Where'd you smell that?
at the same place I got all these, the discount shop.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I just want to find the bottle because I used to be able to get some of those really cheap.
it was less than $100, but it wasn't a vintage. It was
Was it
it was it was like I think an '80s reformulation, the one that Olivier Cresp done.
this one?
It was with the white cap, the gold. I think it's a white or a gold cap.
Okay, because there was some Rochas that I used to get in Indonesia for really. Oh, Byzance
Okay.
was, and I bought a few bottles of these,
Yeah.
and I could swap them for like $200 niche bottles because they're so rare, like insanely rare. But I was getting them for like $20.
Yeah. Apparently, like to get a vintage Rochas Femme now in pure parfum, it's like nearly impossible to find
Yeah.
if you're gonna
Well,
get anything.
here,
Sorry.
they're impossible to find here for a good price. Yeah, but dude, those are all over the world in dusty little mom and pop stores for like $30.
Sure,
Like,
and somebody's attic or wherever basement.
but so okay, so that's something as well that I think kind of fits in here. So in Indonesia, where I used to live, I could pick up like bottles like, so Guerlain, I wish I knew more about Guerlain when I lived there, because I kind of was like really passive with them. I passed up bottles like 40-year-old bottles of Val de Nuit because I just didn't like it. And if
Really,
I had them now, I could probably sell them for $200.
just wasn't to your taste.
Yeah, it just really wasn't my thing. I actually have several bottles of Shalimar cologne from like 1977.
Right.
I paid $15 for.
Probably rich with civet and you know the dirty leathers and the
Dude,
skin.
I didn't wear them much, but these were colognes. Like it was Shalimar EDC, and they were so strong I couldn't even just spray them on to test them because they would be on my skin for like 15 hours.
Yeah, probably much richer than what they have today in eau de parfum concentration.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like when I smell when I go to the boutique and when I smell Shalimar, it's just like it doesn't even come close to the eau de cologne that that I smell. It's like yeah, it's kind of flat and it's kind of rounded and it's not sharp and jutting. It's really interesting, and so I was just looking as well today. I used to be able to get Habit Rouge, the original release of Habit Rouge, for $30 a bottle.
Oh, that came out in eau de cologne, the vintage.
When was the EDT from?
I can't remember the release year.
So the EDTs are the ones I used to be able to get them for $30, and I just couldn't do them because it was like that citrus leather kind of thing. And it's so funny when you took me to the boutique in Toronto, after I came back to Canada, and I smell, I was like, this isn't Habit Rouge. And it's like I had to like look at the bottle. It's like this is not Habit Rouge. Like the original is just like it's so much more similar to this than
Yeah, I
what's.
have the vintage Abbey Rouge in the eau de toilette, and there's a big difference between the vintage and the modern. And the vintage is rich with like aldehydes, and I even want to say there's some civet in there, which the modern doesn't have,
Oh
and it
yeah,
just radiates off skin so much nicer. But
very animalic. Yeah, I remember smelling the new version and just being like,
and
wow,
it all goes back to the restrictions.
yeah. Well, I think restrictions, but I think as well sellability. Everybody wants it. If you were just selling Habit Rouge, if you were able to bottle and sell Habit Rouge for what it was today, no one would buy it.
No, no, there'd be a handful of people interested, and that's about it.
Yeah, so they have to modernize it. They have to make it sweet. They have to put in tons of vanilla or tonka or whatever's in it. But yeah, it's unfortunate.
Well, I think even modern Habit Rouge isn't very mass appealing for today's society. It's still something that's considered outdated.
Um, it smells more modern than the original does, but someone's saying the original's from 65. Um,
I think the original Eau de Cologne,
yeah.
because it just celebrated its 50th anniversary.
I'm gonna look it up. But do you have any more bottles? I know you only had a couple there.
No, I only brought 3 with me.
And you're done them?
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. I'm just gonna find the year on Habit Rouge Eau de Toilette.
Rusk Mabager is saying he has a vintage Antaeus. I have an older Antaeus, and I'm not sure quite how old it is, but it's quite animalic on me, and it's got that beeswax. It's got, is it honey and beeswax, or is it just, I can definitely pick up like this animalic beeswax.
Yeah, maybe. So apparently Habit Rouge EDT is from 2003.
That's got to be the EDP.
It's showing me on Fragrantica EDT is from Habit Rouge. Eau de
I don't know if they have an actual release date of the EDT.
I don't know. Whatever it is definitely very different than it smells today. I don't know. I'll say that.
You know, I'm not sure what Antaeus smells like today. If you can even pick up the rose and leather, but you
You know,
know,
okay, so yeah, I've smelled it recently at the Bay where, they're gonna keep new modern bottles, like they're not gonna keep older stuff on the, front line. It still smells good, but no, I don't really get rose and leather. I do get musk. I do get a bit of like spiciness to it.
there's a lot of spices in the opening. They're like green spices. It's like coriander and basil, and rose and leather are they're very apparent in my formulation. Beeswax clearly sticks out,
Hmm.
and there's another animalic note. I want to say it's like civet or
Yeah,
something.
there's civet, definitely civet. Here, my dog's doing the pee pee dance. Hold on. Come on, come on.
Taffy J saying vintage femme has black lace printed. Yeah, I seen some of the bottles on eBay, and vintage has lace on the packaging, but the ones that I saw had no lace. They were all pure black boxes. And I'm pretty sure they were reformulations.
So yeah, Taffy was very, very, very kind and sent us some really cool stuff in the mail. And it's actually upstairs, but I'm not gonna run up again. But so if she's still watching, which I'm sure she is, because she just commented a minute ago, we'll put her stuff on, that she sent over for us and talk about, because she sent some really amazing stuff, some stuff that I'm really, really, excited to try or to have access to now. Um, Richwood, as well as the Bogue Mai. And yeah, very interesting for both of them. I don't really want to ruin it too much, but yeah, very, very interesting stuff.
Okay, I'd love to try both my.
Yeah, so definitely got to let her know that we're gonna talk about that again. Oh, she's responded. Um, and as well, Abdullah sent us some really awesome stuff from Saudi Arabia, including some figs. Sorry, not figs, dates from his family's farm that are amazing.
Are you allowed to send those across the border?
So it was opened, and I had like tape around the side of the box, like, Canadian customs or whatever. But so they were like shrink wrapped. So perhaps because they're dried and shrink wrapped, it's okay. But
Yeah.
oh, they're amazing. They're so good, man. Um, but yeah, so definitely a big thank you to uh, Taffy as well as Abdullah. Um,
Awesome.
And yeah, again, I left it upstairs, but yeah, he sent a little package for me, he sent a little package for you. So
Awesome.
I'll send that over to you when we meet up again. So I want to get through these really quickly. I've got this bottle that the wonderful lady that I bought Chanel number 22 and 1932 off of. She did a bit of sleuthing on my Fragrantica profile and saw that I was obviously like a Guerlain fan, and other than an amazing uh, Parfume extrait sample of Nahima that she sent me, like still with the packaging, probably from the 70s. She sent me a tester of oh geez, I can't even pronounce it or see the name. Chant d'Aromes, is it?
Yeah. Okay.
So you can actually see, like, they actually used to print tester on the front label there, so it's in French, but it essentially means for inside sales only or inside use only. So she sent this over, and it was cool because I've never actually seen this type of bottle
I've
before.
never seen that either.
No, it's really cool. I like it. It looks
It
really
looks
good.
quite aged.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's very vintage looking, and it is very green.
White floral.
White floral, animalic, green, bit of sweetness, bit of fruitiness, but yeah, like smelling this, they just don't make this kind of stuff anymore.
Sadly, no.
I'll definitely bring this over because I know you're the Guerlain fella. So
I'd love to smell it. Sure.
yeah. So one more quick one, and then I'm gonna show what I picked up today. This is my eau de cologne Chanel number 5, where when you came over, we did the live stream in the truck, and I sprayed some on for you.
Yeah, I clearly remember. I thought it was something like Shalimar.
And yeah,
It,
I left you a decan. I don't know if you've worn it or anything.
yeah, no, I have it. I have it.
And it's interesting because this is discontinued. This has been discontinued for like 25 years or something, or almost 25 years. But it's actually really easy to find.
But
If you
they're still accessible. You can still get them for pretty cheap on eBay, apparently. I know people that have been buying them for, and they're quite affordable.
Yeah, if you're patient, you can pick up a bottle of this. They do them in weird sizes. So this was obviously when and Chanel as well. They don't care. They kind of do their own thing. But the older fragrances, you get like this as well. That I think is like, yeah, this is 60 mil.
That looks like an exclusives to Chanel bottle too.
Exactly. Yeah.
What size is that? Because it looks pretty big in your hands.
I'm actually I think it's a 60 mil. There's no markings on it, but from what I gather, they were made in like 30, 60, and then like 100 mil or whatever, 120 mil.
You could have fooled me into thinking that was a 200 mil exclusives.
Really?
Oh, there's a huge difference. Wow.
But that's the thing. If I was holding this, you wouldn't know. Well, I guess if I had like giant, like
Yeah.
but yeah, so that's like the 200 mil. But yeah, they are very, very similar style bottles. But so yeah, based on what I've read, based on the sizes that I found, because they were doing them by the ounce rather than by the mil. So I think I'm quite certain this is a 60 mil, because the next
Okay.
size up would have been 120, and this is definitely not 120.
Yeah, and that concentration is amazing. Like,
This is like, ugh, it's just dirty and skanky, and it's just like,
it's definitely got that leather, like, overtone or undertone, whatever you want to call it. But
yeah, it's like a girl that's been wearing the same panties for like a week or something. And like,
yeah.
going to the gym and exercising. It's just,
Yeah, totally.
it's so
Not that I know what that smells like, but
oh, dude,
I can picture it.
playing all innocent now. The guy, but whatever. Yeah, it is.
We'll share stories in private.
What's that?
We'll share stories in private.
So as well, I actually think this is an older bottle, because I actually had a bottle that I'm pretty sure is from the 90s when I was in Indonesia, but I left it. I didn't bring it over. Because as well, I knew that I could get this for really cheap. So apparently, if you see it says 75.
I don't see it, no.
It's hard to pick up, but the bottom line is like a 75 with the kind of number, like
Okay.
75 followed by a 0, like the uppercase 0 kind of thing, or like the number 5 here with the 0.
Okay.
That's what you get down here. So apparently this is from the 70s because of that marking. So,
And it's a splash.
yeah, it's a splash as well.
Just looking at it, I got magnetic cap in my mind.
No, it's a splash, and the bottle that I had as well in Indonesia that I left behind that was newer was a splash as well. So I don't know if this was even ever made with a sprayer on it.
It's amazing how they've preserved their packaging and their bottles after all this time, and they've actually created their exclusive collection after that bottle.
Yeah,
I love that they keep their heritage.
yeah. you definitely notice the kind of the true. Well, but that's it. Chanel has done a lot to kind of preserve their space and perfume history. They're very historical. So something else as well that I think is worth mentioning, that kind of correlates with our designer exclusive stuff. So in the Chanel The Secret of Number 5 book, which I highly recommend to
I
anyone.
have it here somewhere.
Yeah, I didn't know
Yeah,
you
it's
had
got
it.
kind of like a pinky green and blue cover.
Yeah,
Secret
it's almost
of
like
Number 5. Yeah, I do have it.
I'm pretty sure it's like an Andy Warhol painting of Number 5.
That's kind of what it looks like. Yeah, I never thought
Yeah.
of it that way, but that's what it is.
So that book is amazing. Like, even if you're not really into Chanel, or you're not into designers, or you're not into nonfiction or whatever, I still recommend checking it out. Like, it's just such an amazing
And
read.
you can get them for like less than $15 on Amazon. They're affordable.
And they kind of talk about all that stuff, the history and the founding, and Chanel desperately trying to hang on to their credibility and heritage and whatnot. And it's such a phenomenal book.
And that's how they've been able to maintain like the most iconic fragrance of all time after all these years.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just
Yeah, like
constantly pushing money into Number 5.
Number 5 EDP is probably the most purchased fragrance in human history.
Yeah, they say like one is sold every minute or every, I don't know, it's crazy, like 29 seconds.
Yeah.
I don't know the exact number, but
yeah.
It probably sold more fakes than any other perfume as well.
That's an interesting point. Yeah. So what happened apparently, because what happened was in World War II, all the Americans that were stationed in France, Number 5 was like the hot thing to bring home. So all these American troops were coming back after the war, and they were bringing back bottles of Number 5 for their wives, and that's what caused hysteria in the United States. It's really fascinating.
Awesome. And well deserved too.
Okay, so quickly, I just want to show H2 No says, I want that book. Yeah, it's an awesome book.
It's a great book.
There's some dark stuff in it too, though. Like, Chanel was not a nice person. She did some pretty nasty stuff, but
well, to get to the top, you probably have to screw a lot of people, right?
Oh, she screwed a lot of people. I don't even want to get into it.
Figuratively.
So I was at the drugstore and I saw this. So Shoppers Drug Mart is a Canadian chain. It's, there's one in every single little town in Canada. And in bigger cities like where I am, there's probably a dozen. And they do a $19.99, 20 Canadian dollar, like, kind of discount shelf. And they, for the most part, it's junk, but there's a few things that are really good that come up now and again. So
that was on the shelf.
That was on the 1999 shelf. Yeah.
Wow.
So A Scent by Issey Miyake, that I've praised numerous times and I will continue to praise. That's where I find those bottles, 1999. And so I've seen this before, and they don't have it regularly. So I'll go in and I'll see it and I'll be like, oh, I'm going to grab that next time I come in. And then I come in and it's gone. So I was in there today. They had like a dozen bottles for sale. And I was like, I'm just going to grab it because I know I'm going to come in a week or two and it's going to be sold out. And then I'm going to have to wait 5 or 6 months for them to get it in again. So I finally just bit the bullet and bought it. And it's just funny because it goes along with us, in our vintage and stuff recently. So I haven't even opened this. So I'm going to do an unboxing. Not the most glamorous unboxing in the world. and I actually have some sprayed in my hand.
It's been so long since I've smelled that. I think the last time I smelled that, it must have been 5 years ago, and I was trying to buy a bottle at the Hudson's Bay.
Mhm.
But the lady working the counter kept asking me, like, why do you want to buy this? It's so outdated. Like, why don't you buy Platinum Ego East or, something that was modern at that time? And I was like, I don't want Platinum Ego East. I want Paco Rabanne Pour Homme. She's like, why? It smells so old. I was just like, whatever, and I walked away. And that was the last time I'd ever smelled it.
So you must have a Shoppers somewhat near you. You're in the, greater Toronto area. So I recommend checking out the, the cheapy shelf and seeing if you can grab a bottle. But yeah, so it does obviously smell a bit dated, old manish, but yeah, I think it's just like totally classic. Oak moss.
It's very green, I remember, and earthy.
Oh, very green, very, very, very green.
Icy. Well, is it a fougere?
Yeah, I would say
For some
so.
reason,
Yeah.
I was thinking fougere when I smelled it.
Yeah, I'd say so.
It's very ferny and herbal.
So yeah, there's a lot going on. There's definitely like those herbal notes. There's like animalic notes. There's some leather. There's some oak moss. There's some citrus. Yeah. I think it's great.
Has it held up after all these years?
So, okay, that's the kind of thing I was trying to recall this. And I remember I could get the 100 ml bottles that were probably from like the early 2000s or 90s in Indonesia for like $30. So, not a heck of a lot more than I paid for this. That would have been more true to the original formula. But of course, back then I wasn't really into these classic masculines like I am now. I'd say if it smells different, which it probably does, the original or earlier formulas probably were even more awesome than this was.
I can only imagine.
But yeah, I'm really happy I picked this up. Like it's a 50 mil for $20. Like it's a pretty good price.
You can't go wrong.
No, you can't really. But yeah.
They've really come a long way. They're absolutely complete garbage today, what they're releasing. And
Man,
Black Excess is like strawberries for men and 1 million in all their flanker family.
So I love Black XS. That was the first perfume I bought when I started to collect. So I have a soft spot for it, but I do know that it is garbage essentially. But looking at Black XS and 1 million and Invictus, and then looking at this, yeah, that's just
It doesn't get worse than Invictus.
No.
That's literally bottom of the barrel drugstore, like the cheapest crap you can find in the drugstore.
But like to compare it though to like let's say Ralph Lauren, and you compare this to Polo Green, which I think is a good comparison, and then you compare Invictus to Polo Red, which I think is a good comparison as well. It just shows you that both have pretty much done the same thing.
It's modern times. It's what we can expect from pretty much every mainstream house. Yeah, they're kind of it kind of goes hand in hand. Everything in the 70s was similar as it was in the 80s and 90s, and even today, everything's so generically sweet. Where if it doesn't smell like bubble gum and cotton candy and watermelon, it's not going to move units.
Yeah. All right, you want to do some comments? I got to run up to the lavatory really quickly.
Okay, we'll do some comments and then we'll call it a night because I do got to get up in the morning. Beef Curtain saying Coco Chanel probably had something going on with Jacques Guerlain, and it's probably not impossible. You think about it. When are you guys going to discover Caron? Good question. Always, a house that I've always been curious about. But they don't have any Caron counters here in Canada. They've just been bought by one of the Rothschilds who've got deep pockets, all that. And expect amazing things from them in the next few months. I'm not Sam Grant. What are you expecting from the Rothschilds to put in the Caron? Personally, I can't imagine the Rothschilds putting in any kind of input, but they've definitely got the money, to hire the right people. Would love to smell Dior Essence. I those Dior Ramas and Essence and all those things, but they're definitely hard to find and well preserved. And I'm not sure how the reformulated. I think they're still releasing them in current formulas. I wore a bottle of Le Male back in 2003 or so. I didn't love it, but all around me did. I can't remember how different it was. I have a vintage bottle of Le Male. It's soured, but I'll never forget when Le Male was released. It was just like the department stores were frantic, and that's all you can smell. As soon as you open the door to the department store, it was like Le Male all around.
So I was a little young to remember when it was actually launched, but
I think it was 95.
I do remember when it kind of got big though. So it was around for years before it kind of exploded. And it did explode probably around 2000, maybe 2001 or so. And it's interesting because it's obviously around for years and years, but that's when it became kind of mainstream in North America. And yeah, I remember just coming home from Indonesia for Christmas, and it was like every one of my friends got bottles of Le Male for Christmas.
Yeah.
And then I went back to Indonesia and I had to buy a bottle because all my friends had it. And I was like, oh my God, it smells so good.
I had a bottle and I loved it at the time. I don't think I'd be able to wear it today, but
No, I bought a bottle again, even before I was into my niche snob days. I bought a semi vintage bottle of it, and I just couldn't wear it. I wore it maybe 2 or 3 times, and I had to sell it.
way too sweet, right?
Yeah, just sweet and powdery, and it just not my thing.
Rusk Mavajor wants to send me some. I'm not sure what it like. You want to send me perfumes or nude photos of yourself? He wants my information, and I don't trust him because he's quite the oddball. I'm only pulling his leg. Okay, so you want to wrap this up, Kristo?
Yeah, sure. Okay, I just see really quickly here, Johnny B.
I don't know how to get in touch. Like, I deactivated my Facebook, and I don't know, maybe you can message me on Instagram or here. I think YouTube disabled their private messaging. I'm not sure if we're able to get private messages on YouTube anymore.
Yeah, you can. They're kind of clumsy and fumbly to get to, but yeah, you can still private message.
I see somewhere earlier someone, I think it was Karar, asking where they can get Chanel exclusives in Toronto. Karar, if you go to Holt Renfrew on Bloor Street and go see Charlotte, tell her Kristo and Eugene sent you. She'll take care of you. They have all the exclusives, and anything that is available in Canada is held at that Chanel counter at Holt Renfrew on Bloor Street. and they'll be able to properly take care of you.
That is essentially their flagship. Like they have the
Do
flagship.
not go to the boutique because the boutique sucks. Their perfume counter it's literally worse than the drugstore counter.
It's like this big, and there's like 6 bottles.
Yeah, we were so excited to go in there that one time, and then when we saw the counter, we were just like, what is this?
Yeah. Sorry, I just wanted, someone in here was talking about Dame Blonde. And yeah, Karar, I think, answered pretty accurately. It's a really nice suede. It's a smooth, soft suede. So I think the difference between suede and leather in perfume is, leather's a bit more animalic, maybe a bit more rough, whereas the suede is, soft and, a little bit more, I don't know, let's say furry smelling rather than the kind of soft animalic thing. But I really like Dame Blonde. It's a really, really, really soft fragrance from Frederic Malle. Serge Lutens. I always confuse those two. But yeah, I think it's a pretty solid fragrance. I never ended up picking up a bottle, but I would like one.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's cut this. We'll meet up again next week. Hopefully with Robes, we'll try and orchestrate something with him.
Yeah, we'll try to go for a Friday evening ish.
We got to come up with a theme or a concept or something. If somebody's got a nice idea or something they want to see discussed, leave it in the comments, and it'll give us something to think about.
So I personally was thinking something like, talking just about YouTube and its evolution and, how it's...
I know it's going to happen. It's going to be the same old conversation talking about, old YouTube reviewers. And I don't want to get into that because it's just going to... Once we get into, the new generation, it's just going to upset me. And I might go off the deep end. Unless I take my meds.
But you know what? I think there's a lot there that just doesn't really get talked about.
Okay.
But whatever. We'll sort it out. But I think that would be a good topic because Mark was essentially the first reviewer to actually get big. Like, there were a few people that predated him, but nobody that is, stuck around.
Right. So he's the Jicky. He's the Jicky of the fragrance community.
He's what? Sorry?
Jicky.
Oh, yeah.
He's the oldest perfume that started using synthetics that is still in current. It's still current.
Yeah, no, it's true. Yeah. So I think, and I know it's flogging a dead horse or whatever, and I don't want to start naming people specifically, but I think it's a good topic because people talk about how they hate the new fragcom, but there's so few people around that have bridged the old and the new. I think it would be a good topic.
Yeah. It'll definitely give us something to think about.
Yeah, so let's, of course, obviously we need Mark to kind of confirm, but yeah, if we could do like next Friday evening, I think that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, okay.
Anything else?
I think that's everything. I've shown all the stuff that I wanted to show.
Yeah, likewise.
If somebody's got a comment, they can leave it and, as a question later on. But anyway, it was great chatting. It was great chatting with all our viewers, and pretty cool episode. Definitely gonna be seeking out some more vintages or older perfumes. I'm more inclined to pick up. I'm really appreciating these women releases more than the men's. There's just something about them. As a lover of florals, I'm gonna find them in the women's perfume before I do in the men's. So
yeah. So there's apparently a few. Someone wants to send you a sealed vintage Le Male, Eugene.
Really?
Jason 5506.
I've got two bottles of Le Male. One is vintage and it's soured, and the other is a 2009 release, and it's been a long time since I've actually sprayed it. So I don't know if somebody's just, you know, messing around, but I got a package today from Jeremy Hines. He sent gray flannel, like what we were discussing, and he sent me a sample of vintage Fahrenheit. And I uploaded a, you know, perfume, a subscriber perfume mail video. And after that, I just got all these offers of people sending me stuff. I'm kind of overwhelmed. Like,
I saw that video, but I didn't watch it yet. I was just gonna be like send you a text, but yeah, that's cool. The gray flannel, I want to try that.
yeah, gray flannel's pretty interesting. You know, I've smelt it once or twice before, and it's, you know, it's definitely not something that I think would be trendy today, but
No,
I think it would just wear gorgeously. And it's interesting, he sent me gray flannel and Fahrenheit, which have a lot of similarities after, you know, doing this all day. You know,
the
they're
burnt
both
violet, right?
very spicy florals.
Interesting. I gotta try that. So is that a bottle? The gray
Sent
flannel?
me a 120 ml bottle,
Wow.
the big honking bottle.
I got to get some of that off you next time.
Yeah, definitely. There was a note in there for me to share with you, so we'll definitely.
Yeah, we got to do that because yeah, we've got the package from Taffy that I need to talk about, and the stuff from Abdullah that I need to talk about, and you know the stuff from Heinz that we'll talk about. But yeah, we'll do like maybe like a subscriber viewer appreciation video or something.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Awesome.
Let's call it.
Yeah. And we'll see everyone soon.
Cheers.
All right. Bye for now, guys.